Hey, Scott Spears with you on this Friday edition of The Exchange, joined by special guests Larry Loci, the Buckeye Man, and Dennis Singleton, Jim Tressel impersonator. Going to kick off this episode, as we have every day this week, with words of wisdom by Marianne Michaels.
I wish I could give myself credit for these, but I can't. I wish I had some magic sentence that I said, but I don't. As I grow older, I pay less attention to what men say. I just watch what they do. You know who said that?
Who said that?
Andrew Carnegie.
I knew that. Andrew Carnegie. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I wish I could take credit for these.
Andrew Carnegie, another great industry man,
yes,
right along with Henry Ford. Last week we talked on this program about, turned into a pretty heated discussion, I believe it was last Friday. We did gay marriage in New York being legalized. But there was a little bit of fallout from that, and I thought I'd bring that up because of what we talked about last week. A day and a half after he voted to legalize same-sex marriage, State Senator Mark J. Grisanti went to church. There across the pews in St. Rose of Lima in North Buffalo sat 81-year-old Ann Deckup. And she felt betrayed since Mr. Grisanti had vowed in 2008 that he was inarguably opposed to same-sex marriage. I voted for him, and I'm writing a letter indicating that I will not be voting for him in the next election, Miss Deckup said. But there was also Greg Fox, a 52-year-old technology industry salesman who called Mr. Grisanti a gentleman. It's important that we uphold Catholic values, Mr. Fox said, before adding, this is also 2011, so things change. And at the front of the church was the priest who Mr. Grisanti recalled put a hand over his heart and kind of pounded his chest and pointed to me and smiled. Mr. Grisanti said that he was unsure what that meant. Now, Mr. Grisanti and the three other Senate Republicans who provided votes necessary to legalize same-sex marriage in New York are confronting another uncertainty: how voters will react to their decision. Voter response will influence the balance of power in the New York Senate, where there are just two more Republicans than Democrats at this point. Fallout already happening. What do you think, Marianne?
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't blame that woman for being upset. But, you know, government people should deal with issues, not cultural things, not religion, not the situation with gay people. I think they should be concentrating on doing the job that they're supposed to do, that they're elected for. And I personally was happy that passed, because I think we talked about it. I think it's a civil right. It's a civil right. I mean, and you can't interfere with people's individual likes and dislikes if they're not hurting anyone, and if they're not, breaking laws. And that woman, I can understand why she feels that way, but I think people should get out of the business of judging other people's lifestyles. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
Larry, what do you think?
Well, as an elected official for the last 8 years, I've learned one thing: try not to debate people on politics, religion, and organic foods, and you're probably better off in life. But and I kind of follow that policy, but my position is this: if that's your lifestyle, that's fine, but don't try to impose your values on me, because I know what I like and what I don't like, and if that's what you like, go for it. I don't think it has a place in politics. I would definitely not debate it in a local community, but if that's your lifestyle, that's fine. But please, I know what I like in life, and I exercise what I like in life. Don't tell me what I can and can't do. So I just kind of leave it. I'm kind of straightforward on that issue.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting. The question then becomes, I think we all agree, I think everybody at this table would agree that I'm going to like what I like, and somebody else is going to do what they like. That's just the way it goes. But I think the question is, should government be telling you what you like or dislike? Should government be making it illegal or legal to do things like that?
Well, because these people, they're couples, and they should have the same rights that a married couple has, as far as all of the regulations and rules and laws. That's why there's, you know, they want to be if they're a couple, they want to be able to be treated like a man and woman relationship, because they have rights too.
If you go back and look at, I saw an interesting thing. It was talked about in 1930. Here's what the taxes were. In 2010, now here's what the taxes are now. Being involved in the city government, I can tell you that our budget is heavily regulated by laws and regulations, and government dictates, and schools. Anybody who's been in school knows that state mandates if you do this, but we're not going to fund it. Well, my position, and probably I wouldn't get reelected if I was real outspoken on it, but there is too much government regulation going on now. I get sick and tired of everybody, well, let's spend all this time to get this new regulation in. Why don't we sit back and look what has worked, and if it's worked, don't tinker with it. But it's not the place of government, in my position, to dictate these policies. What they do is what they do. I don't think we got more important issues. And like the one gentleman said earlier, our city survives on jobs, and we get over half our income coming from tax revenue, from income tax, and not on the lifestyle of a person. So let's focus on getting jobs and more important issues, and quit worrying about the trivial things and the fuzzy, warm feeling types of things.
Well, you know, Larry, and this is what I think is just the counterpoint to this, because when that comes down, I think that's kind of a V in the road. Because if we say leave things alone and don't change them if they're working, that would mean this has always been illegal, so don't make it legal. But then if we say, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and you're going to do what you do, then we're saying make it legal. So it's a catch-22 on that.
Well, let me give you an example.
Okay.
I live at a town that is projected to have 15% in 20 years. We're projected to have 15% of our population is going to be declining under age 25. Over age 55, we are projected to have about a 40% increase in population. We're in a retirement community, but if I drive about 25 miles south and go to Yellow Springs, Katie, bar the door. Anything's possible there. So that's what you want to do, go there. That's my position.
That's
more
clear.
It's there. Capitalize. Go to Key West. Capitalize on it. But by golly, don't you come to me in my town and say, you're going to do this and this and this. I'm going to tell you, go fly a kite. Go someplace where they accept it. That's not what our community accepts. So that is my position, and I bet I can get reelected if I stood firm in what I believe in my community. But if you go to another community, they're very liberal. Let them do what they want to do. That's their thing. That's not my thing.
So just a final question on that would be, in New York, where once again the politicians are making this decision, what's your feeling on that? Nothing in Ohio, because this is something different. In New York, what's your feeling on that? The politicians have made the decision that it is going to be legal. How do you feel about that?
I think too many people worry about other people's concerns, and I'm more concerned about what is our key issues. To be honest with you, I don't really care what happens in New York. I've got enough things to keep me busy. I realize you got to look at the big picture, but let's face the issue. When I lived up around Cleveland, it was a much different community than in Western Ohio. And you go to Columbus, it's a much different environment. So you have to look at where you're at, and if you're happy in that environment, stay there. But don't try to change everything in that community. That's one bad thing that politicians, they come in, they promise 15 different things they're going to do. They're probably going to do one or two. So my position is this: if you think it's the right thing to do, and your community is not going to accept it, don't try to force the issue. Go someplace where they accept it. Everybody move to New York if they believe that.
So you believe, don't let me put words in your mouth, so you believe that people should vote on gay marriage in their own community?
What I said earlier, it's much better in life to not talk about politics, religion, and organic foods. And in my community, that probably wouldn't fly. You go 25 miles down the road, it'll probably fly. So I'd say, in our community, the answer is no. 25 miles down to Yellow Springs, go for it.
I respect that. Dennis, jump in.
I'm a bit old-fashioned, and what people do, that's their business. But I would want to make the point that marriage, for thousands of years, that's a sacrament of the church and should not be tampered with.
Marianne, I know you're jumping here. Shannon, come in. I'm going to get a word before I go back to Marianne.
As I said last week, I just wholeheartedly agree with everything that Marianne has said on this issue. Gosh, I go to school in New York, but I spend a lot of my time in Lima, Ohio too, and I know a lot of folks there who are just looking longingly at what's happened in New York and know and believe and yearn for that to happen in small town America too. So that's about all I can say on that. Marianne,
well, everybody, I mean, listen, let's make this clear here. We've got people who are in positions here, and I think you should never judge anybody on their opinions. Let's start with that.
Definitely.
But then, I mean, everybody's got their own opinion.
Right.
I mean, deal with that.
Right.
But Marianne, what's your argument on this?
These people are people. They're human beings. There have been homosexuals and gays from time immemorial. They are born that way. I'm sorry. No one would choose to go against the majority of people who are heterosexual. I'm sorry. And these people literally go through hell. They really do. And I think, sure, it's biblical. A man and a wife, that's right. It's biblical. But the Bible isn't the final thing. The Bible was ancient. And I'm a Catholic, and I'm a good Catholic. But I think that gay people are people, and they should be treated as I am treated. That's how I feel.
Here's what I tell you, Marianne. This is where I come down. I got a little bit of column A and a little column B here, and I'm not sure which one I'm in more. But I understand Larry's position. I honest to goodness do. That communities should have the choice to vote on what they want. I understand that. I think that's right. I think, honestly, I've never smoked a day in my life, but I think telling people not to, I think we're teetering on a weird line there when we do that. I think that's a little nutty. And when you ban the trans fat, I think if you want to eat it, go ahead. That's a choice. That's what America's all about. Tolerance. But here's the thing on this that I don't understand. I think back to civil rights and in the 1960s. And I think if that had been put up to a vote, separate but equal had been put to a vote in every southern state, that it would have failed.
It
would have failed, and we never would have changed because the majority was living in a community where that was okay. But if we looked at separate but equal now, anybody would say that's wrong. You can't do that. So it's a tough one. It's just a tough one. Anybody want to comment on that?
Well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I know what you're saying. There's still communities down in Alabama and Georgia that's still very strong.
Right.
That area. But I agree that was wrong. But this is a little bit different situation. You're talking about a lifestyle, and I'm just going to...
It's not a lifestyle. These people were born this way.
Well, okay. You accept certain things. I don't accept certain things for me. But if you want to do them, that's fine. But please, what I don't want is government coming in telling me what I can do and what I can't do. There is too many regulations today, way too many, and we got too many fat, lazy people that are educated and legislators that they do not understand education. They should go, if they're going to be a legislator, go teach in a public school, volunteer for about 3 weeks, and you'll come back with a different perspective. Maybe if I lived in a alternative community, that's fine, but I have my beliefs. I'm a Catholic. I grew up in that background, but as you know, the Catholic priest, etc., has some bad scars over the years, and they've been healed. But I know that there are certain parts of the country where everything's fine. But I can tell you, in our rural community, that would probably not, if we put that on a city ballot to be voted on, I'm sure that there would be some major controversy, and if you think it's bad in New York...
The Bible says, judge not that you will be judged.
Well, once again...
Can I interject for just 1 second?
Come in here, please, somebody drop in the middle.
I've been itching to say this. One thing I've just got to say, I think this issue will be completely over with by the time my generation by the time we are adults. I really do, because every young person that I know, and maybe you would like to chime in and share your opinion too, but every young person I know supports this movement, and I so respect your opinion. I so deeply respect it, and I deeply respect what you have to say too, but I think that this will be a non-issue come 50, 60 years.
Anthony, come in on this and then swing to Dennis.
All right, well, I honestly side with both Marianne and Larry over here. I don't like the idea of my government telling me no, but like Marianne said, they are people, and if they want to get married, let them. Even though I just don't understand why somebody has to tell you no. I mean, if you feel happier that way, then go for it. It's everybody's own. I don't want to say lifestyle. I don't want to get yelled at.
Could be coming down. Watch out.
I won't yell at you, Anthony.
Everybody's got their own lifestyle. I mean, they were born, they were raised, and they were trained on how to do certain things. And if they were born a homosexual, they are still trained and learned to have a life. And if you're trained and learn to get married once you're happy, then go for it. And back to your opinion, I don't like the government coming in and telling me no if it's what I want to do. But obviously you don't want to go do something erratic like I want to go blow up this building. Government can tell me no. It's something simple as that, because it's morals. Just go back to what it is. It's just can't judge because it's, I don't want to say lifestyle, but that's the only way I can think of.
Dennis, come in.
Well, I'm surprised that with all this conversation, the people that believe that you should be able to have more than one wife haven't said, hey, how about us? I want to have 2 wives. I want to have 3. How would you feel if your husband said, hey, I want to marry this gal too? I'm old-fashioned. I'm comfortable with that.
I don't believe in multiple marriages.
Well, wait a minute now. What's the difference?
There's a big difference.
What man is crazy enough to want multiple wives?
Well,
there's a big difference.
Yeah.
But see, the point I'm making, what is the difference? It is a different lifestyle.
Let me give you, I first met Jim in New Orleans, or Denny, and I stayed about 2 miles west from downtown. And if you say it's not a lifestyle, I'm here to tell you, it is a lifestyle. Because one night, I saw these big, tall women singing drag night. It's a lifestyle. I mean, you can call it wherever you want to, but it's accepted in New Orleans.
I don't believe in flaunting it. No, I don't believe in that.
It is a lifestyle in New Orleans. It's a lifestyle in other communities. I grew up around Oberlin. There was some more acceptance up in Oberlin, in northern Ohio, and Yellow Springs. Oberlin had more money than Yellow Springs, but
I'm not talking about the lifestyle. I'm talking about marriage. Sanctioning marriage, having me sanction that the same as a man and a woman. I'm not ready for that.
Dennis, are you okay?
Oh, I think most people aren't ready for that.
Yeah, but Dennis,
I really do.
But that doesn't make it right.
Let me throw this at you.
Still,
civil unions, are you okay with that? And are you okay if the marriage doesn't happen in a church?
I would be against it, but if it happens, it happens.
Okay. Marianne, what's your, you said, what is the difference? The question was, what is the difference between polygamy and homosexuality? You said there is a difference. Jim said, or Dennis said, watch out. No, I don't get in trouble for that one. Marianne, what's the difference?
Well, I think there's a big difference. These people want one partner, like I have one partner. I don't hear of any of them having concubines or anything like that. I mean, have you...
There's a word you thought you'd never hear on this show. Here's what I didn't expect it to go in this manner. I was going to ask more, what do you make of the politician vowing that he was not going to do this and then doing it? What do you make, and I am going to get to that in a second.
Everybody changes his or her mind.
Well,
we do it all the time.
Give me 1 second, Marianne, here. I want to ask this before we do that, wrap this thing up. As I said, I think what everybody said is very valid. I truly do. But it's very hard for me to wrap my mind around, and I think Anthony said this best, is that we don't want the government coming in and telling us what to do, but then the government says, no, you can't. That's what I think is hard to wrap around. I just can't quite get that one. On anything. Make it gay marriage, make it abortion, anything. I don't understand.
Well, that's what the government did with civil rights.
Now,
What's the difference?
They did. It's very
and that
strange.
was the right thing to do.
It's very strange.
If you want to have fun in life, sometimes read some of the ordinances. Now, you realize that in any city government, that elected official probably they can make 1/3 of the difference. Ohio Revised Code in Ohio drives 2/3 of everything we do. We've got to follow the revised code. You go to any city and go look through the books and see some of the stupidest rules that legislators have passed that people are still following. So what I'm saying is the rules in your community need to be tweaked periodically, but if your community is not a type of community that accepts the liberalism, if you want to call it that, or freedoms, or different lifestyles, and I'm still going to stick with that because that's what it is, that
You're allowed.
need to go to a community where it is accepted. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Don't try to impose your values if we don't believe them. And that's why we still have various cultures. And, when I went to Russia, summer of '95, it was quite interesting to fear that the older people, over 40 years, still thought the people back in the bush was going to shoot them. But the younger generation, the 25 and under, they spoke English, they spoke Russian, they could communicate.
I don't think you should impose anything on another person.
But that's what laws do.
Yeah, but this law isn't imposing on what is imposed with this law?
I must have walked the wrong.
And should your husband be able to marry someone else? What's the
Oh,
difference?
come on now. Now that doesn't.
Your issue is, should a politician be able to go back on his word? Is that what you were?
No, I'm not saying she should go back on his word. I say everybody goes back on their word.
Well,
But I'm saying if a person, if two gay people or lesbian people want to
No,
get
I'm
married,
talking about the
who does that
politician.
hurt? Who does that impose
Let them
upon?
do it. Don't
That's
make
what
it
I'm
law.
saying. That's not
Are
an
you talking about their
imposition.
behavior or it being sanctioned?
Being sanctioned to marry like another couple.
I believe.
They're not imposing anything on you.
Now, with 2 minutes left, I want to say this. Okay, I want to say this. And it is, but this is discussion, and this is good. This honestly is good to have a discussion like this. It seriously is. But the truth is, when we're saying stuff like this, in the South, African Americans would have always been in the minority. You would have never been able to overturn separate but equal, and yes, there was some fallout from that. But I don't think anybody wants to go back now. I think that's it.
I do too.
And that's it.
That's it.
I mean, you can have I don't want to take the last word here.
You're talking characteristic versus behavior.
And I think that's what we're talking about.
Issues.
I think you're exactly right.
I
I
will
don't
throw
think
out
it's
a
two
simple
different
statement.
issues.
Men
It's
have
civil
certain
rights.
characteristics. Women have other characteristics.
You can't please everybody.
Right.
You cannot please everybody.
One guy tried to, and he got nailed to the cross.
Would you vote for a politician? Anthony, would you vote for a politician who told you he was going to do one thing when you elected him and flipped in the middle?
Depends on what the issue is.
Don't ask me that. Don't go.
Well, politicians do it every single day. They flip-flop. They think this, and then another time they think not.
Well, politicians talk for hours and never actually say anything.
Well,
Not a problem.
we change our minds. It's human to change your mind.
Dennis,
I remember one politician who said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." What happened to him?
Yeah,
He was out.
that's true.
Larry, what happens when a politician that you vote for does something against what you want?
You probably do not cast a ballot for that person
No.
unless
And you
you
have
found out additional information that changes your mind. And this does happen sometimes. You find politicians are uneducated. They get in and find out, I really can't do this because I don't have that. 2/3 of what you do in Ohio is driven by revised code. So don't give me that nonsense that you can change the world, because all the laws are going to affect what you do. So you got to follow the law. And it takes a long time to get that done sometimes.
Shannon, wrap me up on this one.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
We've had a great discussion, and I just appreciate everyone chiming in.
Every day is a great day at the Marion County Fair, right?
No comment from Shannon. That was a big no comment.
I can disagree with you, and I can disagree with you, but I still like you very much.
There you go.
Agree to disagree.
That's the way things should happen. Conversations. If you have a question for the mailbag, catch us on Facebook under the Exchange Marion. Email them to us, irmcommunication@gmail.com. Larry, Dennis, thank you so much for making the trip. It's been a pleasure. From the Marion County Fair, we're out.